All right, before we get into this list, let me get one thing straight. Not every woman with tattoos is a red flag. Some good, grounded women just happen to have ink. So if you're already irritated, relax. This isn't about shaming, it's about pattern recognition. And brother, pattern recognition is how men avoid repeating the same mistake with a different face. Because here's the uncomfortable truth most people dance around. Tattoos aren't just decoration, they're decisions, and decisions are rarely random. They happen at specific moments, under specific emotional conditions, for specific reasons. Some of those reasons are healthy, some are not. Ignoring that doesn't make you open-minded, it just makes you blind. Now, some men look at tattoos and see confidence, edge, sexuality. Others see emotional baggage and future headaches. Neither side is completely wrong. The real issue isn't whether tattoos are attractive, it's what they often signal about impulse control, emotional wiring, and long-term values when you're not thinking with hormones anymore. And that's usually when men wake up, too late. If you're the kind of man who prioritizes peace over chaos, long-term over short-term thrills, and substance over surface-level excitement, this video is for you. If you're just looking for fun weekends and temporary chemistry, honestly, most of this won't bother you. But if you want a calm life, a stable partner, and a relationship that doesn't slowly drain your nervous system, you need to understand these risks before you brush them off as no big deal. If you're new here, my name is Anna Jorgensen. I help good men understand women better so they can find, attract, and keep the right woman without losing themselves or their sanity in the process. And if you're a returning viewer, welcome back. I'm genuinely glad you're here. One more thing before we continue. This isn't about opinions. It's about patterns backed by studies, psychology, and real-world observation. Some of you will agree, some of you won't. That's fine, but ignoring patterns doesn't make them disappear. We all judge instantly and subconsciously. Your brain does it to keep you safe. That's why even law enforcement is trained to read tattoos. Not because ink equals danger, but because symbols often reflect lifestyle choices, emotional history, and risk tolerance. And yes, there's a double standard. Rebellion, risk-taking, and defiance are often framed as attractive in men and unstable in women. Fair or not, that standard exists, and it affects dating outcomes whether you acknowledge it or not. So with that context, let's talk about the first real risk. Number 1. She has a past, and it's written on her skin. Tattoos tell stories. Some are beautiful, some are painful, some were chosen during clarity, others were chosen at rock bottom. That quote on her collarbone might not be poetry, it might be survival. That date on her wrist could be a milestone, or it could be an ex she hasn't fully let go of yet. When you date her, you're not just dating who she is today, you're dating every version of her that hasn't fully healed. Supporting growth is admirable. Competing with emotional ghosts is exhausting. And there's a difference between being understanding and becoming an unpaid therapist in your own relationship. Number 2. She may thrive on rebellion. A lot of women get tattoos during their burn it all down phase. Breakups, betrayals, layoffs, family implosions, health scares, the ink becomes a statement. I do what I want. I answer to no one. That energy can feel intoxicating at first. The chemistry, the intensity, the sense that anything could happen. But building a life requires rhythm, not constant resistance. You'll want plans. She may want spontaneity. You'll want teamwork. She may want freedom at all costs. And here's the part men miss. Self-sabotage can look a lot like passion in the beginning. Destroying stability to feel in control isn't empowerment. It's pain, wearing confidence like a costume. That's not exclusive to tattooed women, but tattoos are often part of that story. Number 3, she attracts attention everywhere she goes. Some tattooed women don't fade into the background. They command the room. Men look, men comment, men test boundaries. If you value discretion, privacy, or modesty, you need to be honest with yourself about what that feels like long term. Some women genuinely enjoy the spotlight and thrive in it. That doesn't automatically mean insecurity. But if she needs constant external validation to feel alive, that gets old fast. What starts as flattering can slowly turn into exhaustion, especially if you're wired for peace instead of performance. And here's the quiet truth. Even when she's with you, her ink speaks for her. Other men read it as an invitation, whether that's fair or not. You have to decide whether that dynamic aligns with who you are. So pause for a second, brother. Which of these already feels familiar? Not intellectually, emotionally. Drop a comment with 1 or 2 words that capture it. Past, chaos, attention. Lock the insight in. And if this kind of grounded, honest breakdown resonates with you, make sure you're subscribed. This channel exists for men who want clarity without bitterness, standards without hatred, and growth without losing their edge. Join a growing community of men who choose awareness over chaos and values over noise. Because in the next part, we go deeper into the psychology, pain, identity, emotional chaos, and why some people confuse drama with love. And that's where things start getting uncomfortable. Risk number 4. She may be addicted to pain or emotional chaos. This one makes people uncomfortable, but it matters. Tattoos hurt, not just physically. For many people, the process is wrapped in a story of healing, rebirth, or taking control. And sometimes that's true. Pain can mark growth. But brother, here's the danger zone. When pain becomes familiar, it can start to feel like home. If someone learns, consciously or not, that pain equals transformation, guess what kind of relationships they gravitate toward? The kind that hurt. Chaos feels exciting. Drama feels like chemistry. Stability feels boring. Safety feels suspicious. I've seen this play out in real life more times than I can count. A calm, emotionally available man enters her life and suddenly she feels restless. Not because he's wrong, but because her nervous system doesn't recognize peace as love. And here's the hard truth. If you're stable, grounded, and emotionally mature, she may not know what to do with you except test you, provoke you, or slowly sabotage the connection. Not out of malice, out of conditioning. That's why some men say, "I treated her better than anyone ever has, and she still blew it up." That wasn't a coincidence. That was pattern repetition. Risk number 5. She might still be finding herself. And yes, this can apply at 25 or 55. Tattoos can be self-expression. But when they never stop, when each new one signals a complete reinvention, it can point to something deeper. 1 month she's boho, then she's hardcore gym mode, then she's spiritual crystals, then she's crypto, then she's biker chic, then she's minimalist, then she's everything all at once. At first, that unpredictability feels exciting. You feel like you're dating possibility itself. But over time, brother, it becomes exhausting. Because you're not building with a person, you're chasing a moving target. If her identity is always under construction, you'll never know who you're actually committing to. And neither will she. Stability isn't boring. It's the foundation that allows growth without burnout. Risk. Number 6. Her social circle may be wild or flat-out toxic. People don't exist in isolation. We absorb norms from the people we spend the most time with. Women with certain high-risk tattoo patterns, especially NSP tattoos, often run with similar crews. Not always, but often enough that it matters. That might look like exes who just check in, friends who live for chaos and call it fun, party-first lifestyles that never really grow up, meme culture built on bitterness. If her inner circle thrives on drama, dysfunction, or constant crisis, that energy will bleed into your relationship whether you like it or not. Human psychology is tribal. We become like those we associate with. That's why bitterness clusters. That's why lonely men gravitate toward red pill spaces. That's why emotionally unregulated women often group together and normalize each other's dysfunction. If her best friends are perpetual train wrecks, it's not judgment to pause. It's discernment, which leads directly into risk number 7. She may struggle deeply with body image or self-worth. Tattoos can be armor. They say, "I own my body." And sometimes that's empowering. But they can also be camouflage, a way to distract from what she hates about herself. Scars, shame, insecurity, emotional wounds that haven't healed. Pay attention to how she receives love. If you compliment her and she deflects, if you get emotionally close and she pulls away, if nothing you do ever seems to be enough, that's not because you're failing. It's because no amount of external validation can fill an internal void. And no amount of ink can convince someone they're worthy if they've already decided they're not. You can love her deeply, you can show up consistently, you can do everything right, but if she hates herself, your love won't fix it. It can support her if she chooses to do the work. But it cannot override her self-concept. That's not romance. That's reality. So let me pause again and check in with you, brother. Which of these feels uncomfortably familiar? Not because you judged her, but because you ignored your own instincts? Drop a short comment, 1 or 2 words. Chaos. Patterns. Never again. Lock the lesson in. Now let's keep going, because this is where things shift from interesting theory to this explains my last relationship. Risk number 8. She may be more impulsive than you realize. Multiple studies have linked tattoos with higher levels of impulsivity and risk-taking. That doesn't mean every tattooed woman is reckless, but it does mean the correlation exists for a reason. Tattoos don't always come from careful long-term planning. Many are spontaneous. Breakup tattoos, Vegas tattoos, new chapter tattoos, decisions made in emotional peaks or emotional lows. And here's the key question, brother. If she makes permanent decisions based on temporary feelings, what happens when the feelings change? Spontaneity sounds romantic until it starts eroding trust. If her life looks like a series of emotional pivots, that unpredictability doesn't stop at her skin. It shows up in how she handles boredom, how she handles temptation, how she handles conflict. Acting on impulse instead of principle isn't freedom, it's instability wearing a fun outfit. Risk number 9. She may use her tattoos to test you, and yes, men hate tests. Women know this, and yet testing happens constantly, often subconsciously. Sometimes it's passive, sometimes it's direct. When she says, "If you can't handle my tattoos, you don't deserve me," that's not empowerment, that's a preemptive strike. Translation: judge me so I can reject you first. Tattoos become a moat. Critique them and you're out. Love them and you're approved, temporarily. Ignore them and you're not paying enough attention. If every interaction feels like a loyalty exam, you're not dating a woman. You're dating a defense mechanism. Healthy women don't need constant evaluation. They let connection develop naturally. But when tattoos become the centerpiece of her identity and emotional safety, they stop being art. They become armor. And relationships built around armor rarely feel warm. Risk number 10. She might want you, but she doesn't need you. Independence is attractive, up to a point, but hyper-independence is not strength, it's self-protection. When she says, "I don't need a man," believe her. Because healthy relationships aren't about needlessness, they're about interdependence. Codependence is child mode, hyper-independence is parent mode. Both are defenses, neither allows intimacy. If she never lets you lead, never lets you protect, never lets you matter in a meaningful way, you're not her partner. You're an accessory to her sense of control. I've watched men stay in these dynamics for years, slowly shrinking, slowly doubting themselves because on paper, everything looked fine. She was strong, confident, independent, but emotionally there was no space for him. Just rules, boundaries, and constant emotional distance disguised as empowerment. Now let's bring this home, because risk number 11 ties everything together. You might be her for now, not forever. This one stings, but it's important. Tattoos often mark transitions, endings, new chapters, reinventions. And sometimes, brother, you're part of that transition, not the destination. If she came out of chaos, toxicity, or emotional turmoil, you might represent peace, safety, stability, and that feels good for a while. But if she's still wired for intensity, peace can start to feel boring. If she hasn't healed the pattern, she may unconsciously crave the very chaos she claims to want to escape. You become the reset, not the end game. That's especially true when NSP tattoos are involved. Think of NSP as no sir, pass. These are tattoos that signal higher risk patterns, not because of aesthetics, but because of psychology. Studies point to 3 major indicators: number of tattoos, size of tattoos, and psychological darkness of the imagery, along with other extreme or excessive body modifications. A small, subtle tattoo, a cross, a meaningful symbol, a discrete design. That tells one story. A body covered in dark, aggressive, nihilistic, or chaotic imagery tells another. This isn't about judgment, it's about alignment. Values leave fingerprints, ink just makes them visible. If spikes, chaos, and rebellion turn your crank, maybe she's your perfect match. There truly is someone for everyone. But don't confuse adrenaline with intimacy. Don't confuse familiar dysfunction with soulmate energy. Compatibility isn't about attraction alone. It's about whether your nervous systems, values, and life goals can actually coexist without destroying each other. So no, not every tattooed woman is a red flag, but tattoos often say what words couldn't at the time they were chosen. They mark who she was when she didn't know how else to express it. And that matters if you're building something long-term. One last note on the studies. Interestingly, researchers found one key gender difference. Women who had no prior substance abuse issues before getting tattoos were statistically more likely to develop them afterward than men. The studies didn't specify which women, but patterns suggest higher correlation among those with NSP tattoo profiles. And remember, whether or not she has tattoos, women are wired to test men. There's a logical reason for it, and there's a simple way to handle it without becoming reactive or resentful. I break that down in the next video, Why Women Test Men, which I highly recommend you watch next. Before you go, if this video gave you clarity, perspective, or helped you make sense of past experiences, take a second to like and subscribe. This channel is for men who want truth without bitterness, standards without hate, and growth without losing their edge. Join a growing community of men, choosing awareness over chaos and long-term peace over short-term thrills. Now I want to hear from you. Do you agree with this list? Disagree? Have you lived it? Drop a comment with 1 or 2 words. Clarity. Learned. Moving on. Let's lock it in. Thanks for being here, brother.